Welcome to the deep dive. Prostate cancer research, it's always moving forward, bringing new hope, new understanding. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some really compelling recent findings. Our mission to kind of break down the latest advancements. We're talking late-stage clinical trials, refining current treatments, but also some groundbreaking preclinical stuff that could really change future care. Get ready for some surprising facts, I think, and some insights that are truly impactful. Okay, so let's unpack this. Clinical trial insights first. Let's start with the final data from the PSMAfore trial. That's the phase 3 study on 177 PSMA 617. You might know it as Pluvicto.
Right. And what's really fascinating here is how this trial put Pluvicto, that's a targeted radiation therapy, a smart therapy, directly against just switching hormone therapy, to a different ARPI. This is for men with metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer, mCRPC, who had already progressed on one ARPI.
Yeah.
And the results, pretty powerful. Pluvicto significantly cut the risk of the cancer growing or spreading on scans that's radiographic progression by a huge 59%.
Wow, 59%?
Yeah. Now, the overall survival data was a bit tricky at first because patients could cross over treatments. But when they adjusted the analysis, it does suggest a potential survival benefit. And importantly, it also gave higher objective response rates and better quality of life. Plus, the safety profile looked good. Fewer severe side effects.
That's a really powerful impact then, especially on, like you said, quality of life and stopping progression. So for our listener, what does this tell us? Where does Pluvicto fit now? Is it moving earlier in treatment?
I think it definitely shifts the landscape, yeah. This data supports using Pluvicto earlier for these men. It gives them a really meaningful alternative, maybe even before chemotherapy, or perhaps instead of it for some. It's about getting this targeted therapy to patients sooner, when it can hopefully make the biggest difference.
Right, getting the best tools used earlier. Okay, so powerful new therapies, that's great. But we also need to think about the bigger picture for patient health. This next finding highlights a risk that maybe gets overlooked sometimes with common treatments.
Exactly. It really raises an important question about bone health. There was a secondary analysis of the STAMPEDE trial, a big phase 3 study, and it showed a significant risk of fractures for men on androgen deprivation therapy, or ADT.
ADT, yeah, common treatment.
Very common. And for men whose cancer hadn't spread, non-metastatic, the chance of a fracture needing hospitalization over 5 years was 11%. That jumps to 26% by 10 years.
Wow, that's quite high.
It is. And for men with metastatic disease, it was 23% just at 5 years. So this fracture risk is a real kind of hidden challenge for men on ADT. Even when the treatment works, there could be these long-term costs. Now, the good news, zoledronic acid did significantly reduce that fracture risk, but only in the metastatic patients. They didn't see a significant benefit for the non-metastatic guys.
Okay, so that's critical then. A hidden burden we need to manage, especially for metastatic patients. It really highlights optimizing the whole journey. But what about making existing effective drugs, well, better, or maybe just more accessible? This next study looks at just that, right? A kind of innovative approach.
Exactly. This is a phase 1 trial looking at a lower dose of Abiraterone acetate, or ACANDA. So normally patients take 1,000 milligrams, empty stomach.
Right.
This study tried just 500 milligrams a day, but taken with a low-fat meal.
Ah, because food boosts absorption.
Precisely. Food increases the bioavailability. And the findings, granted it was a small study, just 9 Asian men, but they showed comparable efficacy. All patients saw their PSA levels drop by week 12, and 78% had that big 50% or greater PSA decline.
That's impressive with half the dose.
It is.
Yeah.
And the safety profile was similar, maybe even a bit better than the standard dose. Think about what this means for global access. Same effectiveness, potentially fewer side effects, half the dose. It could radically lower the cost.
Yeah, making a vital drug way more accessible worldwide. That's huge. Okay, so we've looked at refining current treatments. Let's shift gears a bit. This is where it gets, well, almost sci-fi. Our next deep dive is into some really groundbreaking immunotherapy, aiming to attack all solid tumors.
Yeah, it's a big picture idea. Researchers are developing this approach to try and make almost any solid tumor vulnerable to the immune system, even ones that don't normally respond.
Wow.
The core idea is genetically reprogramming the tumor cells themselves, making them express a synthetic artificial marker. Think of it like forcing them to fly a specific flag the immune system can see.
A flag that isn't on healthy cells.
Exactly. Then they introduce customized CAR T cells, those engineered immune hunter cells, specifically trained to find and destroy any cell flying that unique flag. So it's tumor agnostic. It doesn't need a pre-existing cancer target.
Yeah.
And it's designed to make the whole tumor environment more susceptible to attack.
Wow.
Clinical trials are planned for 2026, so still early days, but a very exciting concept.
That really feels like a massive shift in thinking. What are the biggest hurdles moving that from the lab to actual patients?
Well, a key challenge is ensuring that synthetic marker only ends up on tumor cells.
Yeah.
Well, avoiding attacks on healthy tissues, that's critical. And then there's the whole manufacturing scale-up for the CAR-T cells, keeping it affordable.
Hmm.
But the potential, yeah, it's immense.
Okay. And speaking of targets and how cancer works, our next subject gives us some crucial insights into why prostate cancer sometimes becomes so deadly.
Right. Researchers have been digging into the genetics and epigenetics behind neuroendocrine prostate cancer, or NEPC. This is a really aggressive subtype, often fatal. It develops in maybe 20% of advanced cases. It's like the cancer transforms.
Transforms. How?
They found two key proteins, FOXA2 and NKX2-1. These act like master switches. They seem to orchestrate this whole rewiring of the tumor's DNA, like updating the cell's operating system, but in a really bad way.
Okay.
And that reprogramming drives the change into this aggressive NEPC form.
But is there hope to stop it?
Promisingly, yes. There's a drug in early clinical trials now called CCS1477. In lab tests in animal models, it actually blocked this neuroendocrine shift.
So it could potentially prevent NEPC from even starting.
That's the exciting possibility. Preventing it before it appears would be, well, a total game changer.
Absolutely. Okay, and finally, for our last deep dive today, a connection from somewhere pretty unexpected.
Yeah, this one raises an interesting question. Could common allergy drug actually fight cancer?
An allergy drug.
It sounds surprising, right? But a Taiwanese study looked at cyproheptadine. That's the active ingredient in the allergy med periactin. And in preclinical studies, so lab work, it showed cancer-fighting potential.
Against what kind of cancer?
They tested it on bladder tumors, it suppressed tumor growth, and it actually seemed to improve the tumor's immune environment. It increased markers that help immune cells recognize the cancer and boosted the infiltration of natural killer cells.
So because it's already an approved drug?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has an established safety profile, so it shows real promise for repurposing. Maybe not just for bladder cancer, but potentially other tricky tumors too. Still early, but very intriguing.
So wrapping this all up then, what does this mean for you listening? Well, from making current therapies better and safer, tackling side effects like fractures, to these really revolutionary immune strategies, and even, repurposing everyday drugs, the field of prostate cancer research is just buzzing with innovation.
Absolutely. It's this constant chase for new knowledge.
Yeah.
And it brings more than just hope, right? It brings real, tangible advances that are redefining how we actually fight this disease.
We've covered a lot. Clinical wins with targeted radiation, fracture prevention insights, the potential in low-dose treatments, whole new ways to arm the immune system, maybe even stopping aggressive forms before they start. It makes you wonder, what surprising connections will we find next in the fight against cancer? And how might that completely change medicine as we know it? Stay strong and fight on.